What is the foundation of your life built upon? The center of all from which your actions spring. The core from which all of your thoughts, ideas, concepts, and philosophies spring. Is it built on a rock, such that when the rains come, when the floods erupt, when the fire is cast, when the winds blow, does your house, does your life, does your mind, does your spirit stand tall and strong in the face of all of it? Or does it crumble like a house of cards? What is the stuff, the material, the content, the ingredients of your life, your mind, your heart, your spirit? What is it built on? You gotta audit that. We have to audit that. When I say you, I mean me. We've got to audit that. We've got to question that. We got to scrutinize that. We've got to analyze that. We've got to assess the foundation. For narrow is the path that leads to the narrow gates to the kingdom to come. As Yahuwah, the Most High, Yahusha manifested in the flesh as the Most High, the Supreme Elohim. He who creates, he who breathes life, he who brings all into existence as deliverer, as redeemer, as savior, declares difficult is the way. Difficult is the path. Difficult is the road that leads to the kingdom to come. That leads to everlasting life, happiness, peace, joy, healing, the things we're all looking for. But wide is like a canyon, like a chasm, like the one that's in our heart, the one that's empty, the one that's desolate. Until it's healed and sealed and made strong, true, and righteous by the word, Yahuwah, Yahusha, and his salvation. Wide, canyon-like, chasm-like is the path that leads to destruction, and many will take that road and find their way through that to their demise, to their ultimate destruction and desolation and deconstruction. But narrow, difficult is the way to everlasting life. It's a narrow road, but it's an easy road to follow. It's an easy road to follow once you know, once you understand, once you've been filled with the Ruach, the breath of Yahuwah, Yahusha, and you've received the word and the instruction and the blueprint that only he, no man, no authority of this earth, no false prophet, no yogai, no magi, no holy man, no wise one can give you. Only Yahuwah, Yahusha can ingrain, and it's already there. It's already written in your genetic code. It's already in your DNA. But only Yahuwah, Yahusha holds the key to unlocking it and expressing it. It's like genetics and epigenetics, right? You have a genetic code of all you can be, of all you will be, of all you might be. But it's your environment. It's the way you conduct yourself in how these genes express themselves. That's epigenetics. So you have certain genes that turn on, certain genes that turn off. based on your environment, based on your activity, based on what you eat, based on what you're exposed to. All of these things lead to those genetic switches being turned on and off. So it's already there. The word, Yahuwah, Yahusha, lives in here. He's right here. He holds the key to switching it on. And that key, to find that key, very simple. To understand how to construct your life, very simple. To understand what to build your life, your spirit, your soul, your mind, your temple, all of it. What to build it on, how to build it, is instantly receive the revelations, the epiphanies, and it's simple. It's not complex. You ask, as he says, ask, you receive. Knock on that door. It is open to you. Seek, and you find instantly. The first wave is like a tsunami when it hits you. Rendering yourself on your knees, repenting for all that you've been and done and how you know your conscience has been telling you all this time. You have the guilt, you have the shame. There's a reason you have that guilt and shame, because your conscience knows what you're doing, how you're leading your life, how you're conducting yourself is wrong. It's internal, it's the internal clock, the internal compass. It's your conscience, that is Yahuwah, Yahusha, telling you. Those are those signs, those are the signposts, those are the flashing lights, those are the alarm bells ringing within you, telling you don't take that road. You're leading your life in the wrong way, going down the wrong path. You're not listening, but it's those signals, the guilt, the shame, the sorrow that you have for the way you're conducting yourself or the way you have conducted yourself. He's calling you away from that, calling you away. And that first wave that hits you after you've repented for all you've been, all you've done, who you were, because you know you don't want to live that way anymore. That first wave, boom, like a tidal wave, on your knees, repenting for all you've been, for all you've done, for who you are, asking for his grace and his salvation. That wave hits you, cascades over you, ingrains through you, washes over and fills you up, blossoms, and springs forth from within you the light, blinding in its brightness. Brighter than a trillion, infinite number of those suns that's rising behind me. Blossoms up, rises in you like the rising sun, heals you from the inside, and light is everywhere. Now, you're no longer in the darkness. The light shines down on you, the light is within you, and the light beams out from you, and the light illuminates on that narrow path that you can now finally see. And then for the first time in your life, you're grateful, you're thankful, truly. I mean, because now you feel it in your DNA, your genetic code. You're truly, without having to have a gratefulness practice, you are truly grateful because you receive it all. All you've ever asked for and more, instantly you know your cup is running over. All is revealed to you, all the questions you've ever had, revealed to you. And this is a journey, this is an experience. So the first wave is amazing, but then you get all these waves over and over every day as you continue to nourish your soul. And receive the word, receive the instructions, receive the epiphanies, pray, ask for everything you ask for. He gives you, like Yahuwah Yahusha says. He tells you. What son goes to their father and asks for bread is given a stone? All fathers love their children. Most do anyway, but let's understand that all good fathers love their children, such that they do anything for their children, right? So imagine we who are full of imperfections, full of evil, full of sin. Our child comes to us, asks for bread. We're not going to give them a stone. We're going to give them bread. We're going to fill them up with the good things so that their tree bears good fruit. How then, if we who are sinful and perfect and evil, as Yahuwah Yahusha says, if we're going to give our children bread when they ask for it and not a stone, imagine our Father, Abba, the Most High, the Supreme Elohim, Yahuwah, who loves us in the most indescribable, incomprehensible, unimaginable, endless ways. When we ask of Yahuwah for what we need, how much more will he give us, given his perfection, to the perfection of his love, his incomprehensible, overwhelming, endless, timeless love for us, if We who are imperfect and evil and sinful and full of fallibilities will give our children bread when they ask for it, and not a stone. How much more will we receive when we ask Yahuwah for what we need? As Yahuwah Yahusha says, ask and we will receive all that we need. And we do. We receive more than we could have ever asked, just as you would imagine. As I am saying, your cup will runneth over, your flour will be pressed, it will be shaken, and your cup will be pouring and flooding over, such that you are compelled to share, compelled to share the good news, compelled to pay it forward, compelled to be out here shouting when the sun is rising about the good news that the kingdom of Yahuwah is coming. So you're truly grateful, and then you finally realize, and this is a journey, don't get me wrong, because there's many, many waves after the first, but ultimately you realize you must surrender. And when you finally surrender to Yahuwah, Yahusha, and ask him to guide you and show you how to live your life in a manner that pleases him most, you see the zeros and the ones behind this illusion. It all makes sense. And all that you could have ever imagined receiving, you received exponential. Cup runs over. All questions answered. And so every day you want more of this because you want to live by the way, the truth, and life, the ultimate commandment. Love Yahuwah. This is why it's easy. It's difficult when you're not saved by Yahuwah. It's difficult when you're not redeemed. It's difficult when you're not delivered. It's difficult when you don't understand the commandment. It's difficult when you haven't asked, when you haven't surrendered and prayed for Yahuwah, Yahusha, to guide you and live your life in a manner that pleases him most. That's when it's hard. But it becomes easy because you can finally see that narrow path. And all you need is to see it. Once you see it, you'll never unsee it. And the breath, because you are baptized by Yahuwah, Yahusha. You are baptized by the breath, the Ruach, the set-apart spirit, who now erupts within you and compels you and guides you on that narrow path. You have the breath of Yahuwah within you now. And you're baptized by fire. Fire, which metaphorically burns away all the impurities, sanctifies you. Just with that term, think about it, baptized in fire, baptized by fire. What that means is you're purified. It kills all the impurities, all the toxins, all the poisons that are in your life, gone, burned away, pure, once again, revised, reconstructed, refreshed, and renewed, and reborn once again in his image. And so now you can build your life on the rock that when the rains come, that when the fires come, that when the winds blow, that your house will stand true and strong and not collapse like those who build their houses in the sand, those who do not follow the way, those that walk the wide path to destruction. And in understanding that singular commandment from which all good things spring, that Yahuwah, Yahusha gave us, breaking it all down and making it simple. Love Yahuwah with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love our fellow men as we love ourselves. Therein, we could start to build our house on that rock that Yahuwah, Yahusha talks about. Because you will then be compelled to understand these four things. These four things that you will want to nourish, that you will want to fortify, that you will want to buttress, that you will want to strengthen. Your character. What does that mean, your character? Living with integrity, living with honesty, living with humility. Building that strong character. Word, that when you give your word, it is bond. Right? Those are the things that make up your character. Being humble, giving your word and never breaking it. When you make a promise, you follow through. Living with credibility and truth and integrity. So there's your character. Then there's the temple that he has given us. So should we revere it and honor because it comes from Yahuwah. We created in his image. And this is where the breath, the set-apart spirit that comes with that first wave that washes over you lives. It lives here. He lives here. in this temple that he's given us. So we want to keep it strong. And so we train to get into flow state, get into flow and connect. So when we ruminate and contemplate on the word, the teachings, the parables, the phrases of Yahuwah, Yahusha, we make that connection in our training, but we're also strengthening the temple that houses the Ruach. We're eating his foods, the clean foods, the single ingredient foods that keep us strong and healthy. And we're rejecting, repelling all the poisons and toxins and chemicals of this world as best we can. And then the mind, right? So you got the character, you got the temple, you got the mind, right? What are we doing now with the mind? Again, these are the 4 pillars of that house that is set on that foundation. That foundation is the word, the way, the truth, and the life. The singular commandment to love Yahuwah, Yahusha with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength, love our fellow man as we love ourselves. That's the rock. The 4 pillars, the character that we continue to nourish and strengthen. The temple that we nourish and strengthen. The mind that we nourish and strengthen through positive thoughts, rejecting negative thoughts, turning them around into positive thoughts, and consuming, nourishing the mind with wholesome, productive, joyous, peaceful knowledge, not mindless, worthless, cheap titillation, cheap thrills, cheap entertainment, and all of the persuasion and influence of the flesh and the evil whisperers of this world. No, keeping the mind focused on productive, wholesome, good things. And then the most important, the spirit, nourishing and strengthening the spirit with the words and the parables that Yahuwah Yahusha gave us so that we could do so. So we can nourish the heart, nourish the soul, nourish the spirit with his teachings, with his phrases, with his parables, with his commandments, with his words. He says those who hear his words and live by his words build their house on a foundation made of rock, such that it is immovable, impenetrable, indestructible to the evil whisperers, the corrupters, the misleaders, the deceivers, the haters, the detractors, psychic vampires, negative influencers, the Hashatan, Lucifer, the false prophets, the false Yahushas of this world cannot touch you, cannot penetrate you, cannot persuade you, influence you, or knock you off the path. Because the Ruach, the set-apart spirit, the breath that lives within you, the faith you have in Yahuwah is like armor. Impenetrable, indestructible, unconquerable by the evil ones of this world. You cannot be persuaded, influenced, pushed, misled, deceived. You may stumble here and there because we're all fallible. We're still human, right? But because you have the compass now and it's been unlocked and the epigenetics, your code is written, your code is expressed, and you have the Ruach within you guiding you, and you see the light. The light is there, the narrow path that lives within you that shines out upon you but also illuminates that path. Because you see it is easy to get back on it. Instantly you realize that you might be headed down the road because you listen now to your conscience, because you know your conscience is absolutely imbued, and it is the word, and it is the call of Yahuwah Yahusha. So instantly, if you stumble here and there, before you stumbled around in the darkness because your life was filled with darkness, and every day, every hour, every minute you stumbled because wide is the path, and when it is dark and when there is no light, it is easy to continue to walk down that chasm, that canyon-like path that leads to your deconstruction and your destruction. But now that the light that shines within you, the light that illuminates that path, even though it's narrow and it's easy to see, and the breath that lives within you, Yahuwah's breath, like a compass pointing true north, it's easy to get back on it. Easy to get back on it. And so we stay strong and true, and those 4 pillars that we build our life on brings us everything that we have ever asked for. Everlasting peace, everlasting joy, everlasting healing, everlasting love, and everlasting life in that kingdom to come. The narrow path that leads to the narrow gates that leads to the kingdom to come, where Yahuwah Yahusha walks amongst us once again, manifested once again in the flesh, reigning supreme. All of the evil and sin, war and misery, death and destruction, pain and suffering, illness and disease, all of it wiped away. The decadence, depravity, defilement, debasement washed away. The flood washes it clean. The fire absolutely purifies it all. and it is beautiful paradise. It is beyond imagination. Hashatan, Satan, Lucifer, the demons of this world, the haters, detractors, negative, psychic vampires, the corruptors, the evildoers, the misleaders, the deceivers, all of them crushed beneath his feet. And in our renewed perfection, can we love him, honor him, glorify him, praise him with all of our hearts, with all of our souls, with all of our minds, and all of our strength. And as we walk this narrow path, we have just a hint, just a taste of what it feels like to have true joy, true peace, true healing, true love, and true life. A vibrant, robust, dynamic life filled with meaning and purpose. And we are now stronger than ever. Our foundation built out of rock, built out of the word of Yahuwah Yahusha. The four pillars, ever nourished, ever strengthened. Our character, our temple, our mind, and our spirit imbued with his glory and his love and his grace, his righteousness. We are sanctified as we march, ceaseless and relentless, true and strong, unconquerable, undefeatable, unassailable, unstoppable, to kingdom come.